Did you know that World War I was a war of many firsts? It saw the first use of chemical weapons, tanks and aircraft in combat. This conflict that erupted in the early 20th century was no ordinary war. It was a groundbreaking event that forever altered the landscape of warfare. With the Allied and Central Powers locked in a bitter struggle, the world was introduced to a new era of combat, one filled with technological advancements and strategic complexities. Now prepare to embark on a journey back in time to the early 20th century. The world didn't suddenly erupt into war. There were many causes and underlying tensions that led to the outbreak of World War I. The first cause was the intricate network of alliances that crisscrossed the globe. Major powers like Germany, Austria-Hungary and Italy were tied together in the Triple Alliance, while France, Russia and Great Britain were bound in the Triple Entente. These alliances, while meant to maintain peace, created a domino effect. If one country was attacked, their allies were obligated to step in, drawing more nations into conflict. Then, there was the arms race. The dawn of the 20th century saw an unprecedented surge in military technology and industrial output. Nations were building up their arsenals, flexing their military muscles and preparing for what seemed like an inevitable clash. This arms race created an atmosphere of tension and suspicion, further driving the nations towards war. The final straw, the spark that ignited the flames of war, was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary. In June of 1914, a Serbian nationalist shot the Archduke and his wife during a visit to Sarajevo. This act of violence was the catalyst that set off a chain reaction. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, and the network of alliances kicked into gear, drawing nation after nation into the conflict. With the world poised on the brink, all it took was a single spark to ignite the flames of war. From the trenches of the Western Front to the seas of the Atlantic, World War I was a war of unprecedented scale and devastation. Let's delve into the major battles that shaped the course of this cataclysmic conflict. One of the most infamous is the Battle of the Somme. Beginning on July 1, 1916, this 5-month-long battle in northern France saw over 1 million casualties, making it one of the bloodiest military operations in human history. The Allies intended to break through the German lines, but despite the massive loss of life, the front barely moved. Next we moved to the Battle of Verdun, a brutal 10-month struggle that symbolized the war's grinding attrition. It started in February 1916 when German forces targeted the historic French fortress city of Verdun. The Germans hoped to bleed France white, but the French held on, uttering the defiant phrase, "They shall not pass." By December, the French had pushed the Germans back. The cost? Over 700,000 casualties on both sides. Finally, the Battle of Jutland, the largest naval battle and the only full-scale clash of battleships in the war. Fought over 2 days in May 1916 in the North Sea near Denmark, Britain's Royal Navy clashed with Germany's High Seas Fleet. Though both sides claimed victory, the British maintained control of the North Sea, ensuring the continuation of a naval blockade that would gradually erode Germany's ability to sustain the war effort. These battles, each devastating in its own right, played a crucial role in the larger conflict. The Somme and Verdun are harrowing reminders of the human cost of war, while Jutland underscores the strategic importance of naval power. Together, they shape the outcome of World War I and the course of 20th century history. The echo of these battles still resonates today, a stark reminder of the destructiveness of war. World War I was not just a war of bullets and bombs, it was a war that changed the world in profound ways. In the political arena, the war marked the end of 4 major empires: the German, Austro-Hungarian, Russian, and Ottoman. These once powerful dominions crumbled, giving way to new nations and redrawing the map of Europe and the Middle East. The Treaty of Versailles, which officially ended the war, imposed severe financial reparations and territorial losses on Germany, sowing seeds of resentment that would later fuel the rise of Nazism. On the social front, the war had a significant impact as well. The massive loss of life and the horrors of trench warfare led to a disillusioned generation, often referred to as the lost generation. The role of women also changed during the war. As men went to fight, women took over jobs traditionally held by men, leading to a shift in gender roles and the beginning of women's movement for equal rights. Economically, the war caused drastic changes. Europe, once the economic powerhouse of the world, was left in ruins. The cost of the war was astronomical, burdening the participating nations with enormous debt. This economic strain, coupled with the Spanish flu pandemic, led to a global recession. Meanwhile, the United States, largely untouched by the war's destruction, emerged as a leading economic power. The war also led to the rise of new global powers. The United States, previously isolated from European affairs, stepped onto the world stage, setting the stage for its role as a superpower in the 20th century. In the East, Japan expanded its influence, capitalizing on the power vacuum left by the collapse of the Russian and German empires in Asia. In the ashes of the Great War, a new world order emerged. World War I was a tragedy of epic proportions, but like all tragedies, it offers lessons for us to learn. Deep within these history pages, we find stark reminders of the dangers of unchecked nationalism. Soaring patriotic fervor can quickly spiral into destructive xenophobia, and as we saw in the early 20th century, it can lead nations down the path of war. Then there's the critical role of diplomacy, another key lesson from World War I. The conflict laid bare the devastating consequences of diplomatic failures. When nations fail to communicate effectively, misunderstandings can escalate into full-blown conflagrations. The art of negotiation, compromise and understanding should never be undervalued. Finally, we must grapple with the true cost of war. World War I was not just a conflict of armies, but a clash that claimed the lives of millions of civilians, disrupted societies, and left lasting scars on the world. It was a harsh reminder that war, in all its forms, comes with a high price tag. As we look back on World War I, we are reminded of the importance of peace and the high price of war. May we never forget.